Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Star witnesses set to tell Chris Dawson's murder trial how his Newtown Jets teammate asked him for help to kill his wife while on a footy trip. A former teammate of Chris Dawson is expected to tell his murder trial how he was asked for help to kill his wife Lynette during a 1975 footy trip. The star witness, Robert Silkman, has finally been called as a witness after his evidence was flagged at the start of the trial. Now in his 70s, Silkman was a reserve-grade rugby league footballer along with Chris Dawson for the Newtown Jets back in 1975. The court heard that both Chris Dawson and his twin brother Paul were both footballers for the club and had asterisks attached to their names, denoting important player. Called late on Wednesday afternoon, Mr Silkman began describing the Newtown Jets player he hung around with back then. They included star halfback Paul Hayward, later a heroin trafficker caught by Thai police in 1978 and who later tragically died of a heroin overdose. Asked by Crown prosecutor Craig Everson SC who he mixed socially with in 1975, Mr Silkman said, Ray Lee, Pauly Hayward, Dave Oliveri, and friends off that group. Dave Oliveri was an NSW police officer who became the subject of an ICAC investigation and resigned from the force in disgrace in 1988, but was never charged. On a 1975 game playbook of Newtown games against Canterbury Bankstown, one player listed was Doug Kemister, who had criminal underworld connections. Plus 10 View Gallery. The 1975 Newtown Jets team including Chris Dawson, not pictured, his twin Paul Dawson, back row, fourth from left, had colourful identities such as armed robber Gary Sullivan, front row second from left, drug trafficker Paul Hayward, back row, second from left, disgraced cop David Oliveri, back row, third from left, and alleged mob driver Doug Kemister, bottom right. Plus 10 View Gallery. The trial has heard that Newtown Jets former teammate of Chris Dawson's, Robert Silkman, will claim the accused asked him in 1975, 6 years before Lyn Dawson, above, disappeared if he could get someone to kill her. Plus 10 View Gallery. Chris Dawson, above, played in reserve grade with Robert Silkman, who is testifying to Dawson's murder trial about an alleged request from the accused for help in finding someone to kill his wife in 1975. The trial heard in Mr Everson's opening address more than a month ago that Mr Silkman will claim Chris Dawson asked him to help get rid of his wife Lynette, more than 6 years before she vanished. The men flew to the Gold Coast for an end-of-season holiday in late 1975. The alleged request occurred on the flight home from the trip, which had included watching the October 1, 1975, Muhammad Ali boxing fight against Joe Frazier in the Philippines, known as the Thriller in Manila. On the flight in an aisle seat was Robert Silkman. Mr Everson said in his opening, a man with some admitted criminal connections was approached by Chris Dawson. The two of them were well known to each other, having played together in the second-grade side at Newtown. The Crown alleges that the accused asked Mr Silkman if he knew someone who could get rid of his wife. Testifying via AVL from Bankstown Police Station because he has a crippling back injury which makes it too painful to travel far, Mr Silkman was dressed all in black and with thick black glasses. Plus 10 View Gallery. Paul Hayward was the Newtown Jets star halfback and a friend of Chris Dawson. Witness Robert Silkman, but he later died from an overdose after getting caught in Thailand as a heroin trafficker. Plus 10 View Gallery. Chris and Paul Dawson, above in a Levi's jeans in the 1980s, were both footballers for the Newtown Jets back in 1975 and had asterisks attached to their names, denoting important player. Plus 10 View Gallery. Plus 10 View Gallery. Robert Silkman was friends with Dave Oliveri, left, a NSW policeman who later resigned in disgrace, and on the Newtown Jets playbook was Doug Kemister, right, who later had criminal connections. After legal argument delayed his testimony on Wednesday, Mr Silkman was asked to return on Thursday morning to continue his evidence. Christopher Michael Dawson, 73, is accused of murdering his wife and disposing of her body in January 1982 so he could have an unfettered relationship with his babysitter and former student, known as JC. He has pleaded not guilty to the charge. His defense case is that Lyn left her marriage to Chris Dawson of her own accord and abandoned her two young daughters, then aged 4 and 2. Plus 10 view gallery prosecutors have attempted to paint Chris Dawson, above with Lynette and one of their daughters, as a violent, controlling and abusive husband, but his defense contends Lyn left the marriage of her own accord, abandoning her children. The murder trial began in early May and is into its 5th week, with a 1-week adjournment interrupting proceedings when Mr Everson contracted COVID. The Crown's witnesses have attempted to paint Dawson as a violent, controlling,